Enrique's Journey, Chapter 6, Part 2. Hungry for Hope. The 15 days on Enrique's meal cards pass quickly. He is still saving money for his 2 phone cards. Now he will have to spend money on food. He begs to eat as little as possible, crackers and soda. Sometimes, desperate to save money for the phone calls, Enrique does not eat at all. Sometimes there is nothing left to do but to risk the cops, go downtown, and beg. He goes down to Avenida Guerrero with a friend. It is filled with tourists who spill across the border to shop, drink, dance, and hire prostitutes. 5-year-olds tap the tourists on the arm and ask them to buy packs of gum. Old women sit on sidewalks and extend their weathered hands, seeking a coin or two. Avenida Guerrero is thick with police. For a Central American without papers, it is treacherous ground. But he is desperate. His friend leans on his arm, drags a foot, and pretends to be lame. They approach every tourist they see. "Want me to show you where the train hit me?" the friend offers innocently. Slowly he lifts the cuff of his pants. People recoil. "No, no, here!" They give a peso and scurry away. Enrique and his friend retreat to the river before the police can catch them, with only enough to buy more crackers. Enrique feels weak. Occasionally, local fishermen give him a fish they have caught. Friends at the camp share their meals of scrambled eggs or a bowl of soup. The campmates share experiences before bed. They talk about the poverty they came from. They would rather die than go back. They offer Enrique advice about crossing the river. Use an inner tube. Take a gallon of water. Find which spots are best to cross the river. Enrique talks about Maria Isabel and that she might be expecting. He hasn't spoken to her since his journey began and does not know for certain. Enrique tells him about his mother. He says he is becoming extremely depressed. "I want to be with her," he says, "to know her." He stops. "If you talk, it's better," a friend says gently, but it gets worse. There's nothing to do but work and save money until he can call her. Then he will figure out how to cross the river to his mother. He doesn't know how long any of this will take. Enrique feels anxious about staying too long in Nuevo Laredo. He fears being attacked by bandits. He hears of atrocities, knives, a rifle to the chest, beatings, demands for shoes and money. Enrique sees gangsters hang out in front of the San Jose church. They act like dogs, sniffing out robbery prospects. Most of them are Salvadorians, with MS tattooed on their foreheads and new black Nikes on their feet. "I'll pass you across the river. Give me 200 pesos, they say to migrants walking by. Those who don't know any better follow the gangsters. They are taken to the riverbank and assaulted. At the river camp, a Salvadorian gangster covered in tattoos threatens to thrash Enrique. A migrant MS from an old neighborhood in Honduras intervenes and spares Enrique a beating. Enrique trembles with relief, fear, and a rage as he hurries away from the gangsters. El Tirindaro never threatens Enrique. Instead, he is generous. He knows the sooner Enrique can save money to buy a phone card and call his mother, the sooner Enrique will pay for his smuggling services. El Tirindaro knows that Enrique cannot swim, so he paddles him back and forth on the water in an inner tube to quiet his fears. When the river level drops, it exposes the lower branches of willows lining the banks. They are draped with clothing that the migrants discard as they begin to wade out. Plastic bags, shorts, and underwear hang out from the boughs like tattered Christmas ornaments. El Tirindario takes Enrique on the inner tube along the bank as he collects the clothing. They wash the clothes in the river. They sell them near the taco stand. El Tirindario lets Enrique keep a t-shirt they find. One night, as Enrique walks the 20 blocks back to the river from washing cars, it rains. El Tirindaro doesn't usually sleep at the camp when it rains. The camp, Enrique fears, will be too dangerous without El Tirindaro there. He ducks into an abandoned house. It has gaping holes on the roof. He finds some cardboard and places it on a dry spot. He removes his sneakers and puts them on and his bucket near his head. He has no socks, blanket, or pillow. He pulls up his shirt around his ears and breathes into it to stay warm. Then he lies down, curls up, and tucks his hands across his chest. Lightning flashes, thunder rumbles, wind wails around the corners of the house. The rain falls steadily. On the highway, trucks hiss their brakes, stopping at the border before entering the United States. Across the river, the Border Patrol shines lights on the water, looking for migrants trying to cross. With his bare feet touching a cold wall, Enrique sleeps. Mother's Day. It is May 14th, 2000, a Sunday when many churches in Mexico celebrate Mother's Day. The Parroquia de San Jose is packed with a large Mother's Day party. The women of Nuevo Laredo laugh, shout, and whistle as their sons dance with pillows stuffed under their shirts to make them look pregnant. Every time Enrique goes to the Parroquia de San Jose, it makes him think about his mother, especially today. The church makes him homesick for Grandmother Maria, too, and their weekly walks to Mass when he was a child. Migrants who are separated from their families try to ignore the celebrations. Migrant women weep for being so far from their children. Beneath their sense of hope is sadness and guilt. Each mother shares the same fears. Daily, one woman prays, "Don't let me die on this trip. If I die, my children will live on the street." Many of the women become single mothers because they were unwilling to endure the more difficult parts of their relationships with men. Drunkenness, beatings, mistresses. Alone, supporting their children is very difficult. To feed their children, to avoid prostitution, they leave. Though many mothers expect the separation to be short, typically it lasts 6 to 8 years, says Ana Luisa Espinosa, a Los Angeles Unified School District social worker who specializes in immigrants. By then, they and their children are strangers. Some mothers, picking up children from smugglers, hug the wrong ones. Each of these young women could be his mother of 11 years ago, Enrique thinks. He wonders what his mother looks like now. It's okay for a mother to leave, Enrique tells a friend, but just for 2 or 4 years, not longer. He recalls Lourdes's promises to return for Christmas and how she never did. He remembers how he longed to have his mother with him each time his grandmother scolded him. One thing, though, Lourdes always told him she loved him. "I felt alone my whole life," he says. "I don't know what it will be like to see her. She will be happy, me too. I want to tell her how much I love her. I will tell her that I need her." Enrique has finally saved 50 pesos. Eagerly, he buys a phone card. He gives it to one of El Tirandaro's friends for safekeeping. That way, if the police or gangsters catch him, they cannot steal it. "I just need one more," he says, "then I can call her." Across the Rio Grande, Lourdes is thinking about Enrique. She has indeed learned that he is gone, but in her phone calls home, she never finds out where he went. She remembers their last telephone conversation. "I'll be there soon," he said. Before you know it, on your doorstep. Day after day, she waits for him to call. Night after night, she cannot sleep more than 3 hours. She watches TV. Migrants drowning in the Rio Grande, dying in the desert, ranchers who shoot them. Is one of them her son? She imagines the worst and becomes terrified that she might never see Enrique again. His disappearance stirs up bad memories of her ex-boyfriend Santos's disappearance when Diana was 4 years old. She is utterly helpless. She asks God to watch over Enrique, guide him. On the afternoon of the Mother's Day celebration, 3 police officers visit the camp. Enrique does not try to run, but he is jittery. They ignore him. Instead, they take away one of his friends. Enrique has no money for food, not even for crackers. He takes a hit of glue. It makes him sleepy, takes him to another world, eases his hunger, and helps him forget about his family. He lies on the mattress and talks to the trees. He cries. He talks about his mother. "I want to be near my mom. I want to be near her," he says over and over again until the fog in his mind lifts. A friend catches 6 tiny catfish. He builds a fire out of trash. It grows dark. He cuts the fish with the lid of an aluminum can. Enrique hovers nearby. "You know, Hernan? I haven't eaten all day." Hernan guts the fish. Enrique stands silently, waiting. A setback. It is May 15th. Enrique has had a good night washing cars. He made 60 pesos. At midnight, he rushes to buy his second phone card. He puts only 30 pesos on it, gambling that his second call will be short. Enrique saves his other 30 pesos for food. He and his friends celebrate. He wants a tattoo. "A memory of my journey," he says. El Tirindaro offers to do it for free. Enrique wants black ink, but all El Tirindaro has is green. Enrique pushes out his chest and asks for 2 names. So close together they are almost one. For 3 hours, El Tirindaro digs into Enrique's skin. In Gothic script, the words emerge, Enrique Lourdes. His mom, he thinks happily, will scold him. The next day, just before noon, he stirs from his dirty mattress. He borrows some toothpaste, squats at the river, dips his toothbrush into the murky water, and cleans his broken teeth. They still ache from the beating he took on top of the train a few weeks ago. So does his head, which throbs constantly. A dark pink welt and inch-long scars left his forehead. He still cannot see well with his left eye, and the lid sags. His arms and legs are purple with bruises, and he has been wearing the same clothes for days. He is hungry. Hours pass. His hunger grows. Finally, he cannot stand it. He retrieves the first phone card from the friend who is holding it and sells it for food. He uses all the money to buy crackers, the cheapest thing that will fill his stomach. Now he has gone from 2 phone cards to 1, worth only 30 pesos. He regrets surrendering to his hunger. If only he can earn 20 pesos more, then he will go ahead and phone his old boss and hope his aunt or uncle will call back so he won't need a second card. But someone has stolen his bucket. Without it, he is lost. He used it for sitting when he waited for cars to clean near the taco stand, for chopping food, for washing his feet, and above all, for earning a living. When he thinks about giving up, he tries to reassure himself. I know my day will come. I know I shouldn't get depressed. After eating his crackers, he lies on his mattress, stone quiet, and looks at the sky. His friend can see that he is depressed. Since Enrique has been at the river, he has watched 30 other men and boys sleep at the camp, pay a smuggler, then cross the river into the United States. The friend tries to cheer him up. He urges him not to despair. Someone at camp sees Enrique's angst and lends him a bucket. Enrique trudges back out to the car wash across from the taco stand. He sits on the bucket. Carefully, he pulls up his t-shirt. There, in an arch just below his belly button, is his tattoo, painfully raw, Enrique Lourdes. Now the words mock him. He is deeply exhausted. For the first time, he is ready to go back home, but he holds back his tears and lowers his shirt. As homesick as he is for Honduras, he refuses to give up. The moment. Friends at camp warn Enrique against crossing the Rio Grande by himself. It's a treacherous trek from the moment you step into the river. There are whirlpools below the water, ready to take you under. The Border Patrol helicopters skimming above the water, whipping up high waves that toss you around. His campmates tell Enrique he needs guide, someone who knows the route ahead. And when you make it across the river into the United States, they warn, walking across Texas alone is out of the question. Without a guide, it is easy to get lost and wander in circles in the sameness of the brushlands. The trek to San Antonio takes 7 or 8 days in desert heat up to 120 degrees, with rattlesnakes, cactus needles that cut you, saucer-sized tarantulas, and wild hogs with tusks. Some migrants, dehydrated and delirious, commit suicide. Some are shot by Texas ranchers as they try to beg or steal food or drink. Ranchers have become increasingly riled by the immigrants who trespass. Some ranchers sit on their front porches with pistols in their laps. Most immigrants are good, they say, but the bad ones pack drugs, break into your place, and steal things. On the Texas side of the river, the Border Patrol agents are skilled and dodged. In 2000 alone, the year Enrique was trying to enter the United States, 108,973,000 migrants were caught near Laredo. As Enrique prepares to make his attempt, the Border Patrol has been on a hiring frenzy. In all, the government has hired more than 5,600 additional agents since 1993 to expand its forces along the southern U.S. border. Agents are equipped with helicopters, night vision goggles, thermal imaging that picks up body heat, and sensors that detect footsteps along immigrant trails. They move the sensors constantly, so smugglers and migrants don't know where they are buried. At supper at the San Jose church, Enrique meets men who have been deported by border agents. One man who snuck through the desert alone hasn't eaten in 5 days. When he arrives at the church, his brown shirt, torn to shreds by cactus, hangs in pieces on his body. His arms are cut up and bleeding, prickled with thistles and thorns. He is caked with mud. The bottoms of both feet are covered by huge yellow blisters, and his toenails have turned black. He had to kill 5 rattlesnakes as he walked. He begs for a glass of water and a shower. Everything Enrique hears makes him terrified of snakes and scorpions. In the Texas desert, snakes come out to hunt at night, when it is cooler. That is when migrants are on the move. They fumble forward in the dark, afraid to use a flashlight. Some rely instead on superstitions. Take a pregnant woman with you, and the snakes will sleep as you pass by. Put 3 peppercorns under your tongue for good luck. There are copperhead snakes, coral snakes, cottonmouth snakes, and the blue indigo snake, so long and fast it can kill a rattlesnake. There is a bumper crop this year, and the drought has made them more aggressive. Many times when Enrique falls asleep, he has the same nightmare. A snake has bitten him in the mouth. He cannot call out for help. El Hongo listens to his friends. He decides against going alone. Why should I die doing this, he asks himself. Enrique knows he cannot trust just any smuggler. Back home in Honduras, most smugglers are honest. They must uphold their reputations if they want business. Here along the border, smugglers can rob, rape, or abandon their clients without any consequences. Many migrants at the church return with horror stories about smugglers. Enrique has seen El Tirindario take a number of migrants across the river, always at night, usually one or two at a time, paddling furiously in their inner tubes. El Tirindaro does not work alone. He is part of a network with other smugglers. He has partners on the other side of the river, people who hide migrants if Border Patrol agents are in pursuit. A middle-aged man and a young woman, both Latinos, drive El Tirindaro and his clients north, helping them maneuver around Border Patrol checkpoints in Texas. After the last checkpoint, El Tirindaro returns to Nuevo Laredo, and the couple and others in the network deliver the clients to their destinations. When El Tirindaro takes migrants over, Enrique notices they are never caught and sent back. El Tirindaro has studied the movements of the Border Patrol so long, says Enrique's friend, that he knows what each agent does every 8 hours during the shift change. But he charges $1,200. Enrique makes a decision. When he can afford to call his mother, he will ask her to hire El Tirindaro as a smuggler. I know, he says to himself, that he won't strand me. On May 18th, Enrique awakens to find that someone has stolen his right shoe. Shoes are almost as important as food and his mother's telephone number. He can think of every pair that has helped him come north. On this trip alone, there were 7. Blue shoes, white shoes, leather work boots, Nike sneakers. He has bought, borrowed, or traded for them. All have fallen apart or been stolen, but never only one. He spots a sneaker floating near the riverbank. He snags it. It is for a left foot. Now he has 2 left shoes. Bucket in hand, he hobbles back to the taco stand, begging along the way. People give him a peso or two. He washes a few cars, and it starts to rain. Astonishingly, he puts together 20 pesos in all. Enrique feels joy and anxiety as he walks back to the camp in his 2 left shoes. He now has enough for a phone card. Padre Leo's help. It is May 19th. There is only one way Enrique's plan will work. Padre Leo at the San Jose church lets migrants phone from the church if they have cards. Each day he serves as their telephone assistant and alerts them if they have received a call. Enrique will have to trust the priest to find if his aunt or uncle call back. In late afternoon, Enrique reaches his old boss on the church telephone. He tells him to ask his aunt and uncle to call the San Jose church. 2 hours later, Padre Leo bellows Enrique's name. As always, word spreads through the courtyard like wildfire. Someone named Enrique has a phone call. Are you all right? Asks Uncle Carlos. Yes, I'm okay, Enrique says hurriedly. I want to call my mom. I've lost the phone number. Uncle Carlos reads it, digit by digit, into the phone. Carefully, Enrique writes them down, one after another, 10 digits on a shred of paper. Just as Uncle Carlos finishes, the phone dies. Uncle Carlos calls back, but Enrique is already out the church door. He cannot wait. When he talks to his mom, he wants to be alone. He might cry. He runs to an out-of-the-way payphone to call her. Collect. He is nervous. Maybe she and her housemates have blocked the telephone to collect calls. Or what if she refuses to pay? First of all, it is expensive. Second of all, she told him, harshly, not to come north, but he disobeyed her. Each of the few times they talked, she urged him to study. This, after all, was why she left, to send money for school. But he has dropped out of school. Maybe she is angry at him. Maybe she doesn't even want to talk to him. Heart in his throat, he heads to the small park not far from his camp. It is 7 p.m., a dangerous time for him to be away from the camp. Police patrol the park. If they saw him, he would be sure to catch their attention. He has 2 left shoes and jeans that are worn and torn. He looks too tattered to be in this neighborhood. He pulls a shred of paper from his pant pocket. He lifts the receiver of a payphone on the edge of the park. Slowly, carefully, he unfolds his prized possession, her phone number. He listens in wonderment as his mother answers. She accepts the charges. Mummy? At the other end, Lourdes's hand begins to tremble, then her arms and knees. Hola, mi hijo. Hello, my son. Where are you? I'm in Nuevo Laredo. ¿A dónde estás? Where are you? I was so worried, her voice breaks, but she forces herself not to cry. She wants to stay strong for him. She doesn't want him to break down too. North Carolina, she explains where that is. Enrique's nerves ease. How are you coming? Get a coyote, she insists. She sounds worried. She says she knows a good smuggler in Piedras Negras. No, I have someone here Enrique trusts. El Tirindario, but he costs $1,200. She will get the money together, she promises. Be careful, she says. Despite the bond between them, the conversation is awkward. He and his mother are strangers, but he can feel her love. He places the receiver in its cradle and sighs. At the other end, Lourdes finally cries.